Hi, my name is Samael, and I'm doing my country presentation on Costa Rica. Costa Rica is a Central Latin American country, and they're known for their biodiversity, the classical music, food, and being one of the happiest places on the world. And that's why I chose it, because I found it really interesting that they're considered one of the happiest places in the world. Next, like I said, it's a Spanish speaking Latin American country. I'm located in North America. There's a large migration of people, so it's very intermingled between African culture, Asian, and European descendants. So that's been the biggest part of their history. Next, the government and political policies. One of the reasons that they are one of the happiest places on earth is because they don't participate in a war. And Costa Rica hasn't had a national army since 1948, and they have one of the oldest democracies in Latin America. Next are customs and norms. They're very non-confrontational, very kind, very courteous people. In my research, it was saying that they welcome anyone, whether you are a foreign to them, a stranger, a neighbor. They're very courteous people, very loving and giving. And I got this specific information from Belzer 2015. Next, clothing, music, and entertainment. The Costa Ricans are very lively people. Their traditional clothing shows that with how bright it is, the patterned skirts, the African turbans. The men will usually wear brimmed hats and long pants and sandals, but all of their clothing is very bright, as you can see, lots of different patterns, which shows just how proud they are of their heritage and their culture. Food, their traditional dishes. I've actually had Costa Rican food. It is delicious. Gallo pinto. It's a breakfast dish with rice and beans, very common in most Latin American cultures. Casado dish, which is fried plantains, beef, and tortillas, and then a tamal, which is just a tamale, but in Costa Rican forms, it's wrapped in banana leaves, compared to the tamales we probably are used to out here in LA. And their music. So their music, which I just found out, is really big in the classical music. They have one of the biggest classical music orchestras in the world. So classical music, jazz, folk, and folklore music, and all of these different types of uh, musical things are accustomed from all the different heritage, jazz from the African culture, classical from the European descendants. So their music really shows the intermingling of all the different cultures that has made Costa Rican culture. Important holidays, they celebrate the Virgin de Los Angeles. It's one of Costa Rica's patron saints, and the Juan Santa Maria. And this happens every April, and it's fighting for the country, or based off of him fighting for his country in 1856. And so most of these holidays, or most of their holidays, are religious based. They are Catholic believers, heavy Catholic believers, with over 76% being Catholic. And again, this was from Belzer 2015. Verbal communication, they greet everyone with hugs and kisses. It's also really important to give eye contact and to look people in the eye. They're very personable people, and they treat everyone like family or like close friends, whether they're strangers to each other or not. And time orientation. So this is common for most people of color, the being late. But in Costa Rican culture, it's called the La Hora Tica, and it's basically just saying like you're on Costa Rican time, which usually involves being about 30 minutes late or more. So to important meetings, appointments, dinners, anything, they generally speaking are late. And that's just part of, I think, most people of color, we have that, even me as a Black person. New changes occurring. Costa Rica became one of the first Central American countries to allow same-sex marriage, which I think is great. And it's also Pride Month, happy Pride Month. So I think that that is great. And this is not small at all because, as I said before, they're very religious country, very Catholic, and in most Catholic cultures, gay acceptance isn't really accepted. And so they did a really good thing in making this socially acceptable for their country. So that was great. And power distance and family distance. So overall, they're very focused on equality overall. So blue collar and white collar workers, there's not really necessarily a power distance. They accept each other for who they are. Obviously, they know that there is a power structure, but it's not too focused as it is in the US. And sex and gender roles. So this is something that's common in most Latino cultures, the machismo and gender differences. It still exists. So basically, like the man is the head of the household, and the woman, often if she works outside the home, she still basically is, the cleaner, the caretaker, the nurturer. Um, it's not necessarily super acceptable, but it is known and common. And women do currently work outside of the home, and they do earn equal salaries, but in still some cases, it's expected for them to still be mothers and nurturers and the caretakers in that aspect of the home. Next, stereotypes. So one of the stereotypes I found, which I actually didn't think of when I was doing my research, but that they have one of the biggest crimes and petty theft, and it's very difficult to get a gun in Costa Rica, and that they don't have first world amenities. Um, these things are not true because again, they're one of the happiest places on earth. So petty theft or theft really in general isn't common at all. And then for first world amenities, they have Wi-Fi, highways, Uber, iPhones, all the things we have over here. It may be a different version, but they do have it in Costa Rica. So yeah, they're not at all by any means like a third world country. And some fun facts. There are 5 volcanoes that are active. The Paz, Arazu, Arenal volcano, and the Rincon de la Vieja. So that's pretty cool. And also the country generates most of its energy using 5 renewable sources: hydropower, wind, geothermal energy, and biomass. So this is pretty cool. So that's why they're so big on biodiversity and maintaining the land and the forests and things like that, because they use a lot of natural energy or alternative energy. And these are my references. And thank you for listening.